Hi, welcome to another edition of YouTube Developers Live. My name is Ikai Lan. I'm based in New York City and I work on the YouTube Developer Relations team. Jeff Posnick is also here, but he's sitting behind the camera operating things. So say hi to Jeff, he'll be listening. Today we're going to be talking about Invideo Programming and the Invideo Programming API. So what's going to happen is that we're going to talk about what Invideo Programming is, and what it is. It's a way to promote your channel and videos you want to highlight to get people to subscribe and watch more in your channel. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to use the API in Python and Java, as well as how to use the API with the Analytics API. So it's not going to be as long as our regular shows, but I promise you guys it's going to be a great show. So why don't we go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you guys what's on my screen. I will apologize, I'm not going to be completely zoomed in because it turns out it's kind of a pain to zoom back and forth on certain applications, and this is actually my work computer. So let's go ahead and show you guys what Invideo Programming is. I'm going to zoom in on my browser here. Here's a channel, and you'll see Dino Dinosaur. That's a test name that I use for my test account. And I've got a bunch of uploads here, and they're kind of silly uploads. They're just me kind of goofing around, or it's me playing video games. But let's pretend that I do have a real YouTube channel, and I want people to watch my channel and keep watching my channel. I want people to subscribe to my channel. So I've got a lot of different options for promoting them, and the option we'll be talking about today is Invideo Programming. So the problem that Invideo Programming solves is when someone comes across your video, you want them to subscribe, right? And there are lots of different ways to do this. So one way to do it is Invideo Programming. Other ways include things such as advertising your channel, showing up related lists, promoting off YouTube.com, and that's all good. But really, you want people not just to watch one video, you want them to become repeat viewers of your channels and your content. So you'll see that right here, I just went to the Invideo Programming tab in my admin. And I got here by going to the top right corner of YouTube, clicking on Video Manager, going to Channel Settings, and Invideo Programming. And Invideo Programming is a channel-wide setting. And that's important to remember because later on when we're working with the API, we'll be looking at Channels API. So let's take a look at Invideo Programming. There are two options right now. One is to feature your channel, and this lets you, or a channel really, and this lets you set a channel, this lets you set your logo or your branding in a certain part of the video, or for all the videos on your channel. So here I've just got a silly icon of a Go Gopher and a YouTube Play icon, and I'm picking that I want to show this in the top right for the entire video. So anytime someone comes to watch my video, they will see this logo and they'll be able to click through and learn more about my channel. So this is pretty cool for branding your videos without having to explicitly brand them inside the video, and it also makes them interactive immediately. So the next feature is the featured video, and the featured video allows you to show a preview of a different video for a certain duration. In this case, I'm showing some silly video in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm showing at the end of the video, and I'm showing it for 10 seconds. So what you want to put here is a video that highlights kind of the best that you have to offer, or something recent, something that will make the video viewer continue watching your content and become engaged with your channel and subscribe to your channel. So let's take a look at what this looks like in a video. All right, now here's a video I've uploaded. It's really silly. It was a day when I wore a suit to work, and as you know, we always wear suits to work at Google. And yes, this was a day when I shot a show. So you'll see a show where I'm wearing a suit, and this was that day. I was creating a bunch of test videos. So as I'm playing this video, you'll see two things, right? First off, we'll see three things. You'll see me goofing off, and if you're watching the show, you know that I'm not. That's something I rarely do, is goof off. And there are two things. One is I have a logo, and this is my channel branding. So when I click here, it takes me to my channel so users can learn more about my channel. My channel is not very interesting. It's a test channel, but your channel is going to look a lot better than this. Now the second option here is that I'm highlighting a video, and because this video is only 4 seconds long, a 10-second end of video duration means that this Invideo Programming icon shows up for the entire video. Now you're not always going to want to do this because it's going to be distracting, but this is a really short video, so it doesn't hurt us too much. So right here is a demo video, and this is a video of a demo that we like to do where one of my teammates, Yarek, he created a game where you can throw ping pong balls at a gasoline can, record and upload it to YouTube. Not super interesting, but we have found that if you're a game developer, integrating with YouTube often has really asymmetric benefits for you, relative to the amount of work you put into it. So I'm going to click through that, and theoretically you want to show off what are these related videos? You want to show off the content that will make people want to keep watching your channel. So what we might do, for instance, on Google Developers channel would be to highlight the I/O keynote, or highlight Invideo Programming because Jeff has access to that account. So there are a bunch of things we can do, but what you want to show here is the content that will likely make people click through and keep watching. And there are ways to do this right now with the current annotation setting, but Invideo Programming is the way we're going to be doing this going forward. And we're really excited to be thinking about new features and ways that we can be enhancing this functionality. Okay, so here's my video of us. This is a game. This is a real game. Throwing tennis balls at gasoline cans, and that's a video. And that's going to make me, a regular YouTube watcher, want to subscribe to this video or like it or do whatever. Okay, so that's great. But we're here to talk about the API. So now that you know what the feature is, we can get down to business. Now I mentioned that Invideo Programming is a channel-wide setting, and that's why when you're at the YouTube API reference, you'll see developers.google.com, developers.google.com/YouTube/v3. You want to go to the channels documentation. Okay? So the channels documentation, right now there are two methods, list and update. List is a read operation, whereas update is a write operation. And we're operating on the channel resource. So if you don't really follow what we're talking about here, one show that I highly recommend is a show we did a few weeks ago about turning the API reference into code. And you can find the show at youtube.com/YouTubeDev. And just look at our playlist of recent GDL shows where we explain how to make sense of the API reference and how to quickly turn this into usable code that you can put into your applications. Okay. So let's scroll down, and we're working with a channel resource, but we're working with one part of a channel resource. And scrolling all the way down, we are working with the Invideo promotion part of the channel resource. And this shows some of the different fields that a channel will return if it has Invideo promotion set up. And more documentation on Invideo promotion will be on the same page, on the channel's documentation page. When you scroll all the way down, you'll see, hey, there's Invideo promotion, and there is the promotion, timing, offset, type, and I'll talk about these right now. So there aren't a lot of settings for this today, but that's good because it means the API is simple. Inside of new promotion, you set a few things. You set a timing, and a timing consists of a type, which is when do you want this promotion to show up? And this is only for the featured video, by the way. I should mention that right now. Do you want to show up at the end of the video, or do you want to show up at some other offset? And how many milliseconds? And this is important. This is not in seconds, this is in milliseconds. I opened a bug with the engineering team that works on this because I put in 15. I was wondering why my promotion never appeared. And it's because I configured it for 15 milliseconds, not 15 seconds. So 15 seconds would be 15000. The position, and the position, there are basically four corners, top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. And you'll see that this is a string value that allows you to pick these. Now, the next thing here is the type and the video ID. And the type right now is only video, and the video is just the video ID of the video you want to promote. So you'll see that this items is an array. Really, this only takes one value. You can try putting in multiple values, but the API will throw an error. So even though it's an array, only include one object of this type. So let's go ahead to the Try It Now button. And if you watch, again, our show about how to turn the API reference into code, I go into more detail about how to use this. But what you want to do is when you're creating a request payload, the property that you want to add is Invideo Programming. And you'll see that, whoops, excuse me, I'm using Zoom on my computer. It lets you set position and the position properties, and this is just being crazy right now. The corner position, and this is a string, of course, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. That has to match the store and error. You could set the items, and inside the items, this is when you will add a type and a video ID. So it's a very simple API, and if you need to take a look at what this payload might look like, again, scroll up and look at the channel resource to see what the payload will look like. So the resource representation, we scroll down, we see that there's a timing and a position and items. All right, now let's start translating this into code. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the Java code of how to run a Java sample. We've created this. It's not currently on the site, but we will push this to YouTube API samples soon, and that'll be available at, you could search for it at YouTube API samples, and that'll be the first link in your favorite search engine right here. So we haven't pushed it yet, but we will push it. And once we do, this will make a lot of sense when you can go through the code. Okay, so after we go through the Java sample, I'm going to go through the Python sample, and we're going to go through a Python sample that shows you how to do some stuff with Google Analytics, or not Google, excuse me, YouTube Analytics. All right, so this is my Java IDE. I use IntelliJ, I use a dark theme because I think the light theme kind of hurts my eyes. So the first thing I'm going to mention is that all of our samples use Maven, and there's one thing you have to remember if you're using our samples or if you're using Maven. It's that you have to upload your YouTube client version. So you'll see that I'm using 1.15 RC. RC stands for release candidate. And when I scroll down, if you're not using variables in Maven, you're just going to pass it in. That'll go under the com.google.apis. Right here, dependency. And you'll want to put that the client version you want for the YouTube artifact is 1.15 and the release candidate for that. And the reason for that is that our APIs that you find on in the API reference, there's what's called a discovery doc, and the clients are all auto-generate from the discovery doc. So the statically typed clients like Java and C#, we have to go ahead and regenerate a new client version whenever we add a new field or a new API. And this is a little bit cumbersome, but it's kind of nice because then you get all the benefits of using statically typed languages such as code completion and just type checking. And I found that this is actually really helpful. Maybe I'll do a show sometime comparing static and dynamic languages, throw some fuel on that flame more. So again, you have to upload this to the latest version for this to work. And what you'll see is you'll see a couple of deprecation warnings. So I'll be updating the samples over the next few days so that you won't see those deprecation warnings anymore. We've changed just a few things about how some classes work. We won't talk about that today. Okay, so after you do that and you do a MVN update, so I'm right here, this is the command line. And MVN update. This is just saying, Maven, update my dependencies. I guess I've done that wrong. Anyway, MVN compile will update everything. So you'll see that I've compiled everything. I sometimes forget what the commands are because I switch tools so much. Little plug for myself, I've been working with Gradle a lot recently because I've been working on Android, and that's a really cool build tool. You can also use Maven artifacts and download from remote repositories, and the whole thing is just idiomatic Groovy. So the Groovy programming language lets you do some pretty cool things, and I've been a long-time advocate of build systems that are actually DSLs of programming languages. This gives you a lot of power and flexibility. But again, personal opinion, end soapbox. So now let's go back to our IDE. We're going through the Java code, and this is the Java sample code for adding a featured video. And I've got a couple dependencies I need to remove. I was messing around with this yesterday. Okay, so you'll see that the first thing we do is, this looks like any other sample, where we've got to read a client secrets, and this file contains our client ID and client secret. We authorize, and we put the user through a three-legged OAuth flow, which is to say we open a browser window, a user says, okay, I want to authorize this application. And then we go ahead and we make the API call. And the API call looks like this sample is first going to pull up a list of all your channels and get the very first channel. So you'll see that I'm just getting the first channel. This is returned in the items array. Now once we have the channel ID, we're going to get the playlist ID for uploads. This sample is going to take my most recent upload and feature that video. So this is kind of cool if you always want to be driving people to the newest video that you've uploaded. So you can do some cool stuff where you can make this totally automated using push notifications. So if you want to learn a little bit about push notifications, check out Jeff Posnick and Yaniv's push notification talk at Google I/O. You can also find that at youtube.com/Google Developers. So you can make it so on some kind of notification, say a new video is added to a playlist, you feature that video. So you'll see that this is kind of cool, and this is what Java gets us, which is that we have a channel. We're going to say get content. Oh, geez. Excuse me. The zoom is kind of crazy here. We're going to say get content details. We're going, yikes. We're just not going to do that anymore. Get related playlists. And we're going to say get uploads, and this gives us a string representing the playlist ID for uploads. This is one of the ways you fetch uploads nowadays. So now we have this string which gives us a playlist ID. So now what we're going to do is we are going to fetch the videos from a playlist, and we do this by just making a YouTube.playlistItems API call. We go through the videos. And if the result is not empty, we get a video ID. And this is just very standard. Get the snippet, get the resource ID, get the video ID. And this is a string that we're going to use in our sample. So now we're going to get to the part that describes Invideo programming. So what we're going to do is, this is as with any update or write operation using the Java client, it's a little bit more verbose, and that's because we can't just pass an arbitrary dictionary to the API like we can in Python or Ruby. What we need to do is we need to create typed objects that represent the data we want to update. So this includes a position, which we set the bottom left. We set the type to corner. Right now there's only corner, but this gives us some ability to expand on this API in the future, makes it scalable, so to speak. The timing, we set the timing, and this takes a big integer, so we're going to have to cast our long into a big integer, and we're going to set the type to offset from n. There are only two options here, and you can find them in the API reference. We're going to set the promoted item to video. Right now that's the only option, and we're going to set the featured video. We're going to set the video ID to the video that we pulled back, which was the latest video that we've uploaded. And then finally, we're going to create the actual Invideo promotion object. Whew! That was a lot of work to get here. So once you create the promotion object, we set the position, which is position we created, bottom left, top left, whichever. We set the timing. We set the items, which even though there's only one item today, you have to pass it a list. So I'm using a helper class called lists, which creates a new array list, which is one item. And this takes any number. This takes any number of items and creates a static, not static, but it creates an array list. So this makes it easier than saying list equals new array list dot add, and then put the array list. It just saves us a few lines of code. All right. So now that we've created the Invideo promotion object, we create a new channel object, right? And we set the ID to the channel ID we want to update. We could have also used the channel ID that we fetched back from earlier in the sample. I think that's probably a better idea, and I probably am going to fix this sample so it does that, because this is just getting a little bit more verbose than it has to be. Okay, we're going to set the Invideo promotion to the Invideo promotion object we created. And then at that point, it's easy. We say youtube.channels, update, and we want to update this part, Invideo promotion, and we pass it a channel. We execute it. So once that's done, this will tell us that, hey, we've gone ahead and we've uploaded the, we've set the new Invideo promotion. So I'm going to go ahead and run the sample for you guys right now. Live demos, be good to me. We're going to run this using Maven again. Maven exec Java. See how this goes. Up. I know what's going on. It's doing, zoom is using keyboard focus to decide what to zoom on. Okay, so now you'll see that this is open a browser window, and this is OAuth saying, hey, this application wants to run as you, and it wants your permission to do so. So I'm going to click accept, gets the verification code. Oh, invalid client. It means I set this client up incorrectly, but that's not a huge deal because my Python sample will work. And the reason I've probably set this up incorrectly is because I've got some weird stuff going on with my client secrets. So I'm not going to debug that right now, but just to show you that it will work. Demo gods! Okay, so now let's show you the Python sample and what this looks like there. Opening up my favorite editor for Python, Sublime Text. We're not going to zoom in since it's really easy to make the text bigger in this application. And this is a very simple sample. It looks really similar to the other Python samples we have for the YouTube API. First off, we define a scope, we create a YouTube client, and we call the code. And for the body, because this is Python, we can just pass in a set of nested dictionaries, and it'll take this, and it'll work. And in this particular sample, we are taking keyword arguments for a channel ID and a video ID to sets. So you'll see that these are the valid offset types and valid positions. Aren't a lot of choices, and this will default some positions for us. And you can see that the default that this is going to do for us is going to be bottom left and for 10 seconds. But a user will be able to enter command line arguments and set this to something different. Okay, so that's what this sample is right now. It's very straightforward. And again, you'll see that this payload looks very similar to what you would see in the API reference. That is not an accident. That is almost entirely intentional. So you could copy paste and with a few edits, make the API reference portable into your code. And one thing that I'll mention is that because the libraries for Python are auto-generated on the fly, again from this discovery document, which it fetches every time you run the application, you don't need to update the client at all. If you have a working Google API client, you've already got everything you need to use the newest version of the API. So it's very, very cool. But the trade-offs are that you don't get type safety. And the other issue is that if you are going to be doing this a lot, you usually want to do caching of the discovery docs. So that's out of the scope of this particular show, but you don't want to be in a situation where every single time you are instantiating your client, you are making a call, especially if you're instantiating an API client a lot. And the place where you don't want to do this is, say you are building an API for an iOS or Android application. And what happens is you are making an OAuth call, an OAuth API call, OAuth authorized API call from your server every single time this application checks in. Now, you're going to be hitting this discovery doc quite a bit, and there will be some kind of caching going on, but you're going to want to make sure that you're caching the discovery doc yourself so that you are not constantly hitting the server and saying, what's the newest version of this API, what's the newest version of the API? Because the API will change, but it's not going to be that often. All right, so back on track. This Invideo promotion object, we set a position, and we set the items. Looks very similar to Java, but with a little less ceremony. So I'm going to go ahead and run this code right now, and you'll see that over here, I have Invideo. I'm calling Python, Invideo sample. I'm passing a channel ID. This is my channel ID and a video ID. And I got these values from looking at my channel, and this is my Dino Dinosaur channel. You'll see that in the URL, that's my channel ID. I'm just copy pasting it into the command line. And as for the video, I got that video again from the URL. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the sample. You'll see something interesting anytime you see me running Python, and that is that I have a little prefix in my command line. I'm using something called virtualenv, which is a Python tool that lets you build out separate Python environments. And this is really important because you don't always want to be what we call polluting your global Python space. So virtualenv is a great tool if you're writing any kind of Python. I highly recommend it. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and run this sample. And you'll see that I've added a featured video to the channel. So looking at the channel now, if we refresh this page, you'll see that we are using the newest video and that we've updated this to 10 seconds. So I'm going to set the 5 so you can see this at work. I'm going to hit save. Whoops, valid time values, 05. Now I'm going to go ahead and update it through the API. And you'll see that the API has changed it back to 10 seconds. All right, so one last thing before I let you guys go, and that is how to use Invideo Programming with analytics. So you can already get analytics via the web admin, and you go that by clicking on Analytics, Scroll down in annotations, it says beta because we're still working on this. And oh, no one watches my channel and no one clicks through. But what you should see is that in the annotation type, it'll say Invideo Programming logo and featured video and the click-through rate. So I'm going to go ahead and run a different sample for you guys after I go through this code. And this sample is what I call the Invideo with Analytics sample. And what this does is this gets data about your Invideo programming, about your channel. Then it goes ahead and it prints out, sorted by country, what has the highest click-through rate. So I have this tied to the Google Developers channel because I want to provide slightly more interesting data. If I just provided it with my channel, it would just be a bunch of zeros all the way down. So you'll see that because this is combining the data API and the analytics API, in the API console, you have to enable both the analytics and the data API. Once you do, you'll see that I've defined two service names, YouTube and YouTube Analytics, two versions. And the scopes I'm using, if I scroll up, I'm using two scopes. I'm using the YouTube read-only scope as well as the analytics read-only scope. I need two scopes because I'm working with more than one API here. Now I'm going to go ahead and in the main function, define a YouTube client. And I do this using the YouTube API name and the service name, as well as an analytics client. And this is very important that we have two clients. So these are just two clients in code. We're going to go ahead, I'm going to fetch all my channels, and I'm going to iterate through each channel. And once I iterate through each channel, I'm going to get the channel ID. And now I'm going to use analytics, and I am going to query for a report. I'm going to query for the metrics. This is what's key here. The annotation click-through rate and an annotation close rate. So the click-through rate will tell us what percentage of people watching this video are actually clicking on this thing. I want to sort it by country, and I want to sort by annotation click-through rate descending. That's what this minus sign means in front of this feature. And if you want to learn more about the Analytics API, we've done a bunch of shows about this, and there's a lot of documentation, so check that out. I'm also doing this for the month of March. All right, so I'm going to execute this. I'm going to go ahead and print things out. I am doing something kind of tricky here, which is that I am looking up the country code from a tool called the ISO 3166 package. You can install this using pip or easy install. Pip easy install ISO 3166. I'm importing the countries object and countries library, and you can read more about this online in our documentation. Just look for ISO 3166 and search for it, favorite search engine, install the package, you're ready to go. From that, I'm fetching a country object from the country code, fetching a name, and that's how I get the pretty name from the two-letter country code, which isn't always that useful. And I'm going to go ahead and print this out in a table. So why don't I go ahead and run this Python Invideo, let's see, with analytics. Now, I've already approved this, so I'm going to go ahead and click Run. And I'm going to zoom in and show you guys what we're looking at here. What we're looking at now is, that looks wrong to me. What we're looking at now is a country followed by the number of views for that month, followed by the Invideo Programming click-through rate. And it's, you know, not terribly high, but that's fine. We can expect that. And what this allows you to do is create dashboards as well as do some kind of testing, right? And right now there aren't a lot of features, so we'll definitely do a follow-up show when there are more features. But one thing you could do is you could update it daily to show the newest video, the highest liked video. You can do any number of things and automate this process so that you get the most number of people subscribing to your channel, right? And that's ultimately the goal of Invideo Programming, is to get your brand and your channel in front of potential viewers that might view one video and become long-term returning viewers. So I'm sorting it by country, and again, that's what this does. And this is just very standard analytics. It's using the annotation click-through rate. And this, just one warning, this is also going to include the old style annotations, which we're not currently planning on providing an API for. Going forward, we're going to be focusing more on features to offer for Invideo Programming. So keep a lookout on our blog as well as our release notes to see when we're uploading and updating new features for this. So that is what I have for you guys today. And usually this is about the time when I would ask if there are any questions. So I already know what the question is, and the question is, are you guys hiring? And the answer is yes. So if you want to learn more about our team and what we do, go to developers.google.com YouTube.com/jobs. And you'll see lots of Google developer jobs, and oh, it's Ade looking very intense, right? He posed for that. And these are some of the different jobs that we have in developer relations, or DevRel as we like to call it. So that is all I have for you guys today. Come find us on Stack Overflow at YouTube with the YouTube-API tag. We're also at developers.google.com/YouTube, and on Twitter at YouTube Dev, as well as Google Plus at YouTube Developers. So thank you guys for joining me today or whenever you're watching the show, and hopefully you'll use the Invideo Programming and promote your channel and be hugely successful. All right? Take it easy, guys, and thank you.